Hi everyone, you are watching Cheers Richie, and in this video, I'm going to talk about a world-famous whiskey distillery, Kavalan. I'm so excited to talk about this distillery because it relates to my personal background. But before that, let's talk about the whiskeys and their religions. When you hear about whiskey, either with an E or not, you will think about the Scotch whiskey, Irish whiskey, American whiskey, Canadian whiskey, and Japanese whiskey. These are also referred to as the Old World whiskey. Differently, the New World whiskeys are the whiskey that are distilled and bottled outside the Old World regions, such as Swedish whiskey, English whiskey, Indian whiskey, Australian whiskey, and Taiwanese whiskey. Okay, back to our topic, Kavalan Distillery. If you are not aware of it, Kavalan whiskey is a 100% Taiwanese whiskey. It is fermented, distilled, matured, blended, and bottled in Taiwan. Most importantly is that Kavalan Distillery has won more than 500 medals in the international whiskey competitions since 2010. Interesting thing is that Kavalan is not actually a Chinese word, so don't ask any Chinese or Taiwanese friends what Kavalan means, because 90% of them would not know what it means. Well, I'm one of the 10% people happen to know what it means because my grandparents were living in a land called Yilan in Taiwan, and it's the same land where Kavalan Distillery is. Back in ancient times, the land Yilan used to be called Kavalan because it was solely inhabited by the indigenous people of the Kavalan clan. I believe in their language, Kavalan means people who live in a flat land, opposite to the people who live up in the mountain. So the name Kavalan was officially recognized by the Emperor of Qing Dynasty in the year of 1809, and the city was built under the same name. Okay, back to the Kavalan Distillery. The distillery was completed in December 2005, produced its first spirits in March 2006, and released its first bottling in December 2008. You might be thinking, why is their whiskey only take 2 to 3 years to mature? Because the weather in Taiwan is much hotter than Scotland. So Kavalan Distillery has discovered that their rate of angel share, which is referred to the portion of an aging whiskey lost during the maturation in the cask due to evaporation, is roughly 6 to 8%. That's almost 3 to 4 times faster than Scotland. In other words, a 3-year-old Taiwanese whiskey has the equivalent maturation time of a 12-year-old Scottish whiskey in a wood barrel. Therefore, it's not really fair to put an age statement on Kavalan's whiskey bottle, and that is why you don't often see the number of years mentioned anywhere on their bottle or box. If you have been to Yilan, you will understand why Kavalan had decided to establish their whiskey distillery there. The environment is unpolluted and very similar to Scotland. It has the mountains and coast. The distillery has always been kept primitive and protected from the outside world by the Xueshan mountain range, which is abundant in high-quality natural water that comes from deep within the mountain range, and that is the main source of water the distillery has been using for their whiskey. Today, I have 2 bottles of Kavalan whiskies on the table. The Vinho Barrique, which has won the World Whiskey Award for the world's best single malt whiskey, and the Port Cask. Both bottles were matured using existing American oak wine barrels. Since the Vinho and Port are both Portuguese wines, I'm quite sure that Kavalan has bought their barrels from Portugal and had them shipped back to Taiwan. But it doesn't really mention which Portuguese winery they bought their barrels from. On Kavalan's website, they mentioned that every existing Portuguese wine barrel will go through 3 STR processes in the Kavalan Distillery. The STR processes stand for shaving, toasting. And charring. These three processes will bring out fruity vanilla notes from the whiskey and the wood overlay on a delicate background of a complex fruitiness. Let's open the Vinho Barrique bottle and give it a try first. Just by looking at the cover and the box, it's definitely more luxurious than the whiskey bottle we bought in Canada here. It almost reminds me of the blue label I got from Johnny Walker. Wow, open up inside, it comes with a certificate. It's a Kavalan single cask strength, single malt whiskey. This is bottle number 36 out of 203, and the cask numbers are shown here too. The alcohol percentage is 58.6, and the color looks kind of like wineish brown, pretty dark. Let's give it a try. Okay, now let's give it a try. From the nose, I can pick up some vanilla, some sweet like brown sugar, a little bit of chocolate. Yeah, other than the sweet, there's definitely a lot of fruitiness in there. There's tropical fruits like mangoes, some melons, and a little bit of kiwis, and there's citrus like orange fruits in there. There's a very mild pepper spice in the background. Let's give it a drink. Wow. So if you ever try a bottle of Kavalan, if you ever drink Kavalan whiskey before, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Every bottle of Kavalan whiskey is probably pretty much have a similar style, like their signature style is that once it goes into your mouth, it's like an explosion. All the fruitiness just bursts out in your mouth, and different from most of the other scotch I've been drinking. Yeah, I definitely pick up the fruit like mangoes, orange, and melons, and there's a little bit of sweet chocolate. And there's a bit of spice in the aftertaste. Pretty interesting bottle. A little bit of like grape wine type of taste. Maybe that's from the Vinho Barrique, the Vinho wine. Okay, interesting one. Next, we're gonna try the port cask. So similar to Vinho wine, it's port is also a type of wine from Portugal. And let's open it. First, let's pick up the smell. Wow, from the initial smell, it almost reminds me of the sherry cask. I guess the port cask and sherry cask are quite similar. Maybe it's because both of them are fermented wine. Yeah, I can pick up the grapes, the nutty, the signature like nutty in the, you can pick out in the sherry. And plum and some dark chocolate. Very typical like sherry notes you can actually pick up in this port. Yep. Let's give it a try. Wow. So this one, I would say compared to the previous Vinho, the port cask is actually more sweeter than the Vinho. It's also more sweeter than the sherry. It's very sweet. It's like my mouth is cold of sugar, but in the same time there's nuttiness, like nuts, walnuts or other kind of nuts, and there's also grapes, chocolate. So very similar to sherry, but it's just much sweeter. Yeah, and there's plum and some other little bit of spice in there. So if you're like a person who like to drink sweet whiskeys, this is definitely you should try the port cask. Okay, that's all for today. If you like my content, please hit the like and subscribe button to support my YouTube channel. I will see you in the next video. Cheers!